She tortured her 4-year-old niece until the little girl took her last breath.
I don't think society would ever be safe with Manling among us. She killed her entire family.
And she butchered her sons, just 3 and 7 years old, before slaying her husband with a samurai sword. And this woman suffocated her newborns and sealed their tiny bodies in plastic containers. These aren't the twisted plots of horror films. These are the real-life atrocities committed by women now awaiting execution.
I've committed armed robberies, I've committed burglaries. I'm by no means some angel, poor innocent, picked up out of society. My life took me here.
Their crimes were so brutal, so unforgivable, that the world decided they didn't deserve to live. But what drove them to such monstrous acts? And as they sit on death row, do they fear the fate that awaits them? Brace yourself for every woman on death row, waiting for execution. Part 1. Some crimes are so horrific, they leave an entire community scarred. The torture and murder of 4-year-old Jenny Rojas in 1995 shattered Chula Vista, California. Veronica Gonzalez and her husband, Ivan, were entrusted with caring for Veronica's niece, Jenny, after the child's parents lost custody due to neglect and drug abuse. Instead of safety, Jenny endured months of unimaginable cruelty. She was beaten, burned with a hairdryer, hung from a closet hook, and forced to live in filth. On July 21, 1995, the abuse reached its peak when Jenny was submerged in scalding bath water, her skin peeling away as she suffered for hours without medical help. Investigators discovered a chilling pattern of torture. Neighbors testified to hearing violent thuds and cries from the Gonzalez apartment, while Jenny's 8-year-old cousin revealed the couple routinely starved her and poured boiling water on her head. Forensic evidence showed Jenny died from burns covering 50% of her body. At trial, both Veronica and Ivan blamed each other, claiming spousal abuse and methamphetamine addiction. The courts rejected their defenses. In 1998, they became California's first married couple sentenced to death for the same crime. Veronica's sentence was upheld in 2011, while Ivan's appeals remain pending. A mother's love turned lethal for Socorro Susan Caro, whose 1999 child murder shocked Camarillo, California. On November 22nd, she methodically shot sons Joey, 11, Michael, 8, and Christopher, 5, in their beds. Fourth son Gabriel, just 13 months old, lay untouched nearby. Caro's husband Xavier, a rheumatologist, returned home to find his wife bleeding from a self-inflicted head wound, a botched suicide attempt requiring 2 brain surgeries, blood-soaked pajamas, and handprints matching Caro's left damning trails between the children's rooms. Prosecutors argued she sought revenge against Xavier, who'd consulted divorce lawyers. At trial, Caro, with Prozac, Xanax, and a 0.138 blood alcohol level in her system, claimed amnesia. The jury rejected her insanity defense. Sentenced to death in 2002, she joined California's death row, where she remains at 62. Compelling forensic evidence, including DNA-tied blood spatter, sealed her fate. Caro's case endures as a harrowing exception, a mother who weaponized motherhood itself.
Pull out this pillow full of blood, and I'm all like, what the heck?
What if the truth bends under the weight of a broken system? That's the haunting question shadowing Kerry Lynn Dalton's death row saga, a case built on no body, no physical evidence, and testimony from compromised witnesses. On June 26, 1988, Dalton was accused of orchestrating the meth-fueled torture and murder of Irene Melanie May in a California trailer park. Prosecutors claimed she and accomplices Mark Lee Tompkins and Cheryl Ann Baker beat May with a skillet, stabbed her, and injected battery acid, yet May's body vanished, leaving no forensic trail. Despite a sheriff deputy finding no blood or weapons during an initial inspection, Dalton was arrested in 1992.
I have to be honest, I don't really remember much at all. It just seems outrageous that it's even legal for this to happen to me. I mean, there's nothing. There's no body, there's no weapon, there's no death certificate.
Convicted in 1995 based on accounts from meth-addicted co-defendants who secured reduced sentences for testifying. Key confessions came not from Dalton, but a prosecutor's investigator relaying hearsay. While Dalton maintains innocence, the California Supreme Court in 2019 partially unraveled the verdict, striking the conspiracy death sentence but upholding execution eligibility for torture murder.
Definitely.
Or remorse for all the things you did that all added up to whether it was that crime or not.
Definitely. Regret, shame, remorse, of course.
Now 64, she remains among America's longest-serving female death row inmates, her fate hinging on appeals debating whether testimony from incentivized drug users can justify state-sanctioned death. A stark emblem of legal system flaws, her case forces us to ask, can justice survive when evidence dissolves into whispers? What drives a mother to slaughter her own family? For Manling Williams, the answer lies in a toxic mix of obsession and cold calculation. In August 2007, the 29-year-old Rowland Heights mother executed a meticulously timed massacre. First, she smothered her sleeping sons, 7-year-old Devin and 3-year-old Ian, with a pillow. Then, after socializing with friends and checking her lover's MySpace page, she returned home to attack her 27-year-old husband Neil with his prized samurai sword. He suffered over 90 vicious wounds before bleeding out on their staircase. Prosecutors revealed Williams wanted freedom to reunite with a high school flame who'd urged divorce. Her staged crime scene, complete with a forged suicide note, initially fooled no one. Blood-spattered gloves in her car betrayed her. Convicted in 2010 of 3 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances, Williams received a death sentence in 2012 after a bitter legal fight and an initial jury deadlock. Ironically, both families pleaded against execution. Defense attorneys highlighted Williams' traumatic past, an unwanted pregnancy survivor raised amid abuse and learning disorders. Now in her mid-40s, Williams awaits an unlikely execution in California, where multiple women sit on death row, but none face imminent lethal injection. Her case remains a harrowing study of how familial bonds can curdle into unimaginable violence. Some crimes defy understanding. Jessica Marie Hann's case is a haunting example. Born Jason Michael Hann, this transient drifter and his partner, Chrissy Wernz, traversed the U.S. with their infants. In 1999, Hann beat his 6-week-old son Jason to death in Vermont. 2 years later, he murdered 10-week-old Montana in California, fracturing her skull in a fit of rage. Their tiny bodies were sealed in Tupperware, wrapped in trash bags and abandoned. Investigators later discovered a third child, 1-month-old Michael, clinging to life with broken ribs and a fractured skull. All 3 infants had been subjected to Hann's violence, but Michael survived after being rescued from a Maine motel in 2002. Hann's 2014 death sentence made history, but not for his crimes alone. Incarcerated at San Quentin, Hann transitioned to female in 2019, becoming one of California's few transgender death row inmates. A name change and hormone therapy can't erase the legacy of a parent who turned storage units into tombs. These women walked a path so dark that society chose to cast them away forever. Some await their final moments in silent remorse, others show no signs of regret. But as their executions loom, one question lingers. Should they face the ultimate punishment, or is death too merciful? What do you think? Does justice prevail in these cases, or does the system fail even in the worst of crimes? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to uncover more shocking stories of crime and punishment, don't forget to like and subscribe. This was just the beginning. Stay tuned for part 2.